learning now and you do it after 6 months or a year, you might be too late.
So when we are talking about re-architecture, is there a re-architecture of also how the HR function sees themselves?
The first responsibility of HR to understand how to design, develop, architect a AI transformation for your team.
Good afternoon, everyone. A very, very warm welcome. I'm delighted that we are speaking today. But more importantly, I wanted to share what an important day it is for me. Um, Beyond the topic that we are going to discuss, which is extremely critical, the person who's joined us today is someone I deeply respect. He was my manager way back in 2011 and 12 when I was with Philips. He was a mentor, guide, coach, a lot of candid conversations about work life transitions. So, Yash, thank you so much for being the person that you are. I just wanted to start this webinar with that.
Thank you, Sonika. Thank you so much. It brings back so many memories. What a wonderful time we had working together then, and what a team we had built. But, my heart is filled with joy just because I have seen you rise, rise, and only rise. And that's what shall happen. And really looking forward to this. Thank you for having me with you.
Thank you so much for coming. And a quick introduction about Yash. Yash has more than 30 years of experience in multiple organizations, multinationals across geographies like India, UK, Japan, USA, ASEAN, and Europe. He has cross industry experience. His strengths and expertise are so wide, but I will try to do justice. So, from strategy, whether it's business, HR, workforce, transformation, mergers and acquisitions, culture building, capability building, leadership development, and executive coaching. He has led global transformation programs and initiatives at enterprise level across several organizations: J&J, Philips. I was a part of his team, Sun Pharma, and Lupin now. He is very, very active on social media. He has his own blog. He is recognized amongst the top 50 powerful HR professionals from India and has worked with leading academicians in US for conceptualizing and executing global strategic initiatives in the area of HR management. He has a high social sector orientation and believes in supporting education for the underprivileged. He's an avid golfer, a photographer, and a creator of many professional level, highly creative images using photography and technologies. So, Yash, welcome. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, this topic that we are all going to talk about today is something that I have been hearing in various conferences, HR committee meetings from different industry bodies, which is about the evolution of HR in the context of AI disruption, geopolitical challenges that different industries must be facing, and the evolving workforce expectations. And we felt that, there have been a lot of generic future of HR kind of conversations on how HR can translate and must translate this disruption into business, workforce, and organizational choices. So, with that, Yash, my first question to you. You have seen HR evolve, and the last few years have not been easy, whether it was COVID, then, the changes which happened globally. Uh, Today, organizations are simultaneously handling multiple issues, multiple salvos on all sides. What is it that organizations need to reshape for, from an HR perspective, and how can HR become a driver of that reframing, that reshaping?
what you asked a question is very well said in that question, that HR has evolved, okay, and has evolved significantly over the past, more than 3.5 decades that I've seen it. Just to set the context and so that people understand. So when I started working, and I started off on 17th of May 1989, okay, there was not a single computer on the desk, okay, in any company. And we were in the peak of the analog world, as they used to call it, okay. Time and attendance in companies used to be done by a whole mechanism known as time office. Okay, you had
Yes.
those mechanical clocks where people used to punch their cards, if attendance was recorded. And people in the offices used to sign a register. Okay, and then at the end of every month, the time office person would collect those cards and the registers, and then they used to create the payroll. So from there, today, to where, attendance is recorded with your visual aid, okay, that you
Yeah.
have in the offices, to everything. I mean, it's just a dimension, one single dimension I've given. Okay. It was not also known as HR, it was known as personnel management. And the word HR came because within personnel management was created a function known as human resource development, which later became L&D, which then
Mm.
became learning. Okay. And then that's how HR started evolving from there. If you ask me, the first evolution that I saw was not on the technical side, but was on the strategic side, where
Mm.
learning and HR was responsible not just for dealing with unions and industrial relation management and all that. Well, that was the most important facet, but
Yeah.
how to develop an organization, how to develop people, that became the core of HR. And then from there on, if you look at it, well, a lot has changed, where HR has become a business partner, okay, to the business leader.
Yes.
But in essence, what has really changed is two things. So, one is on the technology dimension, and a lot we'll discuss after that. But the first one is the value creating role of HR, from, a maintenance function to a value addition function to a value creating function. I think that has been the most exciting journey, okay, of what I have seen. Running the human resource development function or the L&D function was more of value addition in my. So what you used to do is, you used to identify the training needs of the organization. You used to find the right trainers, which we used to call them
Yes.
in those days, okay, and bring them, put everyone in the classroom, and then the development used to start. Or we thought that that's what development is all about. Things such as developing people on the job, on the role, is something which was also discovered much later, right, as a technique. So there was a lot of online training and, developing people near their machines and all that, but it was not seen as that, what we call as the 70-20-10 learning principle.
Yes. Mm.
And I think the greatest contribution came is when the outgoing McKinsey CEO, he wrote the book about the golden triangle, right?
Mm.
And his book was Talent Wins. I still have it here because when he was retiring and when that book was launched in China, he had
Mm.
invited me as one of the people to launch that book, okay, in Beijing. That book actually transformed the perception, role, and the understanding of HR. Because when the CEO of McKinsey says that the three most important roles in an organization are that of the CEO, CFO, and CHRO, and how that golden triangle actually not only is the custodian, but is the value creating triangle of the organization. That day onwards, I would say, or that decade onwards, which is like 15 years ago, is when HR really became a strategic function. But the key question to ask, Sonika, and I'll stop there, is HR and some of the HR leaders and some of the professionals, I would say, has everyone transformed themselves to be like that? That is the
Mm.
key question, that one needs to ask within our fraternity.
Yes. Yes, I understand what you're saying. I mean, being able to talk business, business revenue, the COGS, how the supply chain works, how the business makes money. I think when you said the golden triangle, uh, the triangle becomes complete when an HR person or an HR leader or an HRBP can also have the conversation in the same language as business while keeping people at the center.
Why is it important
Mm.
for an HR person to have a business understanding? Okay.
Yeah.
We must break that down. Okay. Everyone says, right? You can
Yes.
make only a good HR professional if you understand the business. It is not just for HR, it is for any function. Okay. For that matter. Unfortunately, the way business has been understood in the past is if you sell something, collect money, and bring it back, then those are the guys who are engaged in doing business. Everyone else is not in business. But you look at it, say, from an entrepreneur's point of view. Okay. Now, you are an entrepreneur yourself, Sonika, right? From the time you stopped 12 years ago being a HR professional to starting your own company, when you went in your startup, I'm sure you were the CEO, you were the HRBP, you were the CFO, you were the operations, commercial operation designer, everything, right?
Till the peon.
Till the peon. That to me is business understanding, why it is required. It's running of the whole business that when a person does or understands. Like, let me tell you, not many people are aware, though it's in my CV there, but for 2 years in my career, and this was when I was in Colgate Palmolive, I
Mm.
went out of HR and became a manufacturing head of the toothbrush operations, okay, in Aurangabad. So for 2 years, I was not a HR manager, I was running the manufacturing. Then in AstraZeneca, when I was there with Bhaskar Iyer as my boss and many of the people, who are today like Suresh Subramaniam, who's a partner with EY, and Rayan Khan, okay, who's now joined. He was with Abbott and Merck. All these were for 1 year. I was head of sales. So Bhaskar made me head of all India sales, looking after the sales. Then when I was in J&J, my boss Vaidesh, for 1 year he made me head of the surgical education, which is nothing but the medical
And the
marketing side of J,
CMEs. Yeah.
the CME, the J of
Yeah.
J&J, and so on and so forth. So it is when you step out of your role and you do a line role is where I started understanding what is COGS when I worked in manufacturing. I started understanding what is distribution, what is supply chain, what is money collection, what is cash flows. It's when I went and did that sales role. So a lot of it, theoretically, right? Because we have been to our MBA colleges and all that. But in real life, you start understanding that. Now, the moment you understand that, and then when you apply it as an HR professional, that how it can benefit the person, the organization, and the business better,
Mm.
that's where it starts making sense. So that is why it is important. It's not important that just business understanding. Today, you take a YouTube course, from or a course from Coursera also, you will get it in 3 weeks flat. But
Agreed.
being able to apply it to create value, okay, being able to apply it to create value
Yes.
is what defines and makes a professional.
Yes. So, Yash, let's talk about AI, right? The pace at which AI is evolving. A lot of organizations are experimenting with different technology. It can be at the time of, shortlisting resumes. It could be even for performance management. It could be for tracking numbers. My question is that in all of this, what is the role of HR so that they can create value, like you said, or add value? Um, because many times what I see is that there is a tool and that tool gets deployed, but is there a capability shift? at a team level, individual level, or an organizational level?
So there again, multi dimensions on which HR can contribute in this AI transformation and revolution. But the two most important one are one, the AI transformation that HR needs to bring within its own function for
Mm,
themselves. And and most of my colleagues who are on the webinar will join me in saying that we are going through that transformation ourselves in Lupin for the past 4 months, huh?
mm,
And it's a massive end-to-end transformation. So we have reimagined the entire function. And in phase one, we have chosen
mm,
5 areas where we are going to bring in agentic AI. Okay,
mm.
not even I mean generative AI, just a part of it. It's way
Yes.
above than that. Is agentic AI and make the organization ready for physical AI. Okay, within HR. So from recruitment to onboarding to how performance management is done to rewards to how people are serviced, everything end to end. And from a employee life cycle point of view, from hire to retire. So in phase one itself, we'll be buying and building and deploying more than 50 agents. Like
Mm,
say, for example, um, a agent which is like a offer calculator. Offer calculator is an agent. Okay. So you build an agent
brilliant.
which can help
Mm,
recruiters build an offer. Okay. Now you could say, yeah, but earlier you could do that in Excel. Well, it's not. You create a whole agent for that. Now, what an agent is nothing but it's AI assistant. Okay. You call it best an AI assistant or an agent, right? So when you take documents from a new joinee, okay, so you say, okay, give me your payslip, give me your contract, give me your ESOP ledger, give me and they submit it to you. So majority of them come as scanned PDFs. Some come also as a picture taken, from your phone,
yes.
and everything is emailed to you, right? Now, the agents that are getting built is so the agent looks at all those documents and creates and drafts and creates offer for you. And then there is a human in the loop. The
Of
human in
course.
the loop is the recruiter who looks at all that, checks, and then makes a decision, takes an approval, and turns it around to the candidate. Okay. So at an average, and this is as per the firm McKinsey are helping us, so they're working with us along with PwC and a few other firms. So usually this document receiving to creating an offer and giving it back to the candidate, it takes anywhere from 7 to 10 days time. Okay,
Mm,
at an average, some organizations, some people, we can also turn it around in a day. I have
yeah.
done it for a few people, but
Mm,
I have manually done it, right? But that's the average. An agent is able to do it, including following up with the person, which you don't have to follow up, saying that you have not sent the document, I need the document, etc., in less than a day.
yeah.
Okay? So, so one of the good things that I learned early on in this, about 6 months ago, is that the productivity in this AI transformation is not going to come from reducing things such as people or cost. So productivity used to come by what? By it used to be a reductive mentality. Okay, you have to reduce something, which means you have to do more with less. Those kind of things.
Yes.
Here, the productivity is going to come from, it's going to be not reductive, but it's going to be multiplicative. Okay. And
Mm,
that is because ability to do things with less error and faster, with
mm,
very high accuracy, with very high speed. That's what gives you the advantage. Okay. So
yeah.
that's what is the first responsibility of HR, to understand how to design, develop, architect a AI transformation for your team. And it's not rocket science. Let me
Mm,
tell you, I was able to do it within 6 months, and we are 4 months down the line in that journey. And if I am able to do it, let me tell you, anyone should be able to do it. Correct. But learn and get on that train and do it. If you
mm,
start learning now and you do it after 6 months or a year, you might be too late. That's one.
mm,
Secondly, the role that HR plays where the AI transformation is happening at scale in the rest of the organization, in commercial, operations, in supply chain, wherever, is the biggest role is to build the AI literacy. And in today's time, it is about building capability that is AI fluency How can everyone in your organization be fluent?
mm,
Okay. How can they understand? So getting people together in a room, getting best of the best out there, teaching them, talking to them, making them practice those tools. Half the people don't know the difference between generative AI and agentic AI.
mm,
Forget physical AI. Okay. So they don't know the levels and stages of AI. So being able to do that and including teaching in a day someone how to build an agent. Okay.
yes,
On a studio such as a Microsoft Copilot or a Claude or
Lord.
or SAP's Joule, whatever, or Azure, you should be able, and you can teach them to build a small agent which can manage your own calendar, something like that. I think that is the second biggest role of HR in organizations today.
Mm, mm.
So those are
Uh,
the two roles.
yes, I'm completely with you on this. Sometimes I find that within HR, there are so many roles, right? There is talent acquisition, there is talent management, there is D&I, there is L&D, there is CNB, there are HR ops, HRBPs. There was a time, and I'm talking about 2005, 2000, where HR teams used to be very small and we used to do everything. They were not such clean roles. Today I find that because there are so many verticals and so many roles, that system thinking which is required sometimes for uh, AI transformation at an enterprise level. So what happens is that TA would say that my job is TA, so my job is sourcing, getting interviews done, offers made. Talent management कोई और देख रहा है, L&D कोई और देख रहा है. But the fact is that it is that same employee, same person, and your organizational context of deliverables and goals. Somewhere do you feel that many silos, many roles, too many cuts, and then the corporate culture, not wanting to step on somebody else's foot can sometimes come in the way? And what role can HR really play here? So when we are talking about re-architecture, is there a re-architecture of also how the HR function sees themselves?
It's important to understand why. So, like you said, for HR, same in manufacturing,
Yeah.
1989, 37 years ago, when I had started my career, there was no supply chain. It used to be manufacturing operations. That's it, manufacturing.
Mm,
Under the manufacturing head used to be a person who used to do distribution also, who used to do procurement also, and then there was another one who used to run the plant, right?
mm,
But why did supply chain evolve as a function on its own?
mm,
Why did procurement evolve as a function? It's because the sale, scale, size, and complexity changes. Okay, change substantially. Like they say today, there are organizations as big as cities, in terms of its people.
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, last I was told that Accenture in India is about 4.5 lakhs, 4.5 lakh employees just in
Yes.
India. Now, 4.5 lakh is the size of many European cities. Okay. When 37, 35 years ago, there was hardly an organization which had a size more than 25,000 people. Okay. So when the organizations became so big, that's one same HR head couldn't do whatever was
Everything.
required.
Mm,
So specialization came because of scale and size. Okay.
mm,
Also because of a whole lot of advancement, in understanding the science. Like, for example, the science of learning was not known. It was very different 50 years ago than what it is today. There used to be one training manager whose job was to manage the training room and just schedule training calendar. That's it. Okay.
And show those plastic PPTs.
Yeah, show those plastic transparencies,
Yes.
OHPs, we used to call it overhead transparency. So the reason things have changed is because of scale, size, and a lot of science that has come in. Okay.
Mm.
So don't ignore that. So organizations which didn't change with times, they have been wiped out. Okay.
Yes.
Totally wiped out. Uh, CHROs who did not design and run their organizations by HRBP and by COEs have been wiped out, gone.
Mm.
Okay. Because that has become the new way of working. Now, will
Yes.
this current way of working, which is new to many people, will this morph and change into something else? Answer is 100% yes. Answer
Mm.
is yes. So again, if you ask me, a consolidation will happen because tech, and in fact, I've just written an article. I can't talk too much about it because it'll appear in, I think, this month's Times of India in the Ascent. It's about the rise of the third workforce. Okay.
Mm.
It's the rise of the third workforce. And the third workforce is nothing but these agents, what used to be bots earlier. Okay. So people used to call bots as the employees, right? But
Yes.
agents are more or less because you have to train the. So whenever you build an agent, okay, and what is machine learning, and it's all about training them. It's
Yes.
it's it's making them more proficient with data. That is going to be the third one. Now, you do know the best part about digital agents? They don't need a manager. They don't need a leader
Mm.
for their motivation. Okay. What they need is they need a human to just check the output, control them because they are not autonomous. But the moment they become autonomous, which in some cases they will, in some cases they won't be. Okay. But when you are willing to sit in a driverless car, well, let me tell you, which I did in San Francisco, which I'm sure you must have done when you go there. Let me tell you, you are giving in into autonomy. The very fact you're sitting in a Waymo, which is a driverless car, and you're paying for getting from one place to other, you have entered the autonomous world.
My brother-in-law was telling me that there is conversation of autonomous surgeries, appendicitis, and and I was like,
So right now, I mean, that's what, you know, Vestuni and all these companies, which is nothing but robotic surgeries that you're talking about.
yeah,
Today it is happening, as a surgeon in the loop. But tomorrow, once that machine is trained enough, that
yeah,
machine will be able to perform it.
yes,
That's machine learning. So exactly right. I think I just saw a video this morning where Jack Ma and the Jansen Jung, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, I think they are in a conversation. And the CEO of NVIDIA is saying clearly, he's saying, right now, I'm telling you, if you are planning to make a career in radiology, don't,
mm, mm,
because radiology will be totally done by AI.
mm,
It's a prediction, a bold prediction from him. And he's saying because the ability of the machine to create an image and read an image and look at it is so high and is so good that the human in the loop today, which is a radiologist, will become redundant.
yeah,
Okay. So, and you look at it, yeah, and my daughter, whom you know, Sanika, I mean, she said this to me 5 years ago when she was choosing a PG. And
mm,
she said, you know what, Dad, yeah, everyone seems to be running after radiology because it is one of the higher. But she says, I am going to choose dermatology. And I asked her why, because she says, this is one of the few branches in medicine that will remain with a doctor.
mm,
That's
true,
how the students today talk, huh? And it's amazing how they're choosing it.
mm,
So if you're in HR, my question is, instead of trying to, predict or paint a picture that this job will remain or this is how the structure will, start asking yourself two questions. One is, what am I good at today? What I need to be good at tomorrow?
Mm.
Answer these two questions for yourself. I am telling you, not many people answer even the first question honestly. Okay. The moment you answer the first question honestly, what am I good at today? Okay. Will lead you to the next question, which is, what do I need to be good at tomorrow?
Mm.
And in search, if you're curious enough, in search of that second question, an answer for that second question, you will start learning so much more that you will be in a position where you'll start building what is required in you tomorrow. So instead of trying to be scared about, oh, will radiology remain or not remain? I don't come from that mindset. I won't go into that. I would say, okay, I'm good at this today. What do I need to learn for tomorrow? Or what do I need to be good at for tomorrow? You will never have an answer for that second question. But it's the quest for that answer that will drive you and make you better for tomorrow.
And does that apply to organization level as well, Yash?
The organization, if I'm saying it applies to you, me, each person in HR, it
Mm.
applies everywhere. And some of the best in class organizations do that. I mean, what is the entire strategic planning process? What are we good at today? What is it that we want to be good at going ahead? And that's where your competitor analysis, your Porter's five forces, and you bring everything,
Yeah.
and it's still
Yeah.
relevant. But it is the answering of these two questions.
This is very strong because I think it just cuts out the noise and tells us, कि ये दोनों questions and we are sorted. So, let me switch gears a little bit. Yash, we spoke about AI at length. What do you think is happening with all this geopolitical ambiguity? How are different organizations getting impacted or industries? And what is the role that HR can play here?
Yeah, it's a terrible thing, right? I mean, right now, the two geopolitical disruptions are A, because of the war that is
Yes.
going on, which is the most terrible thing, in the world, at least from my point of view, and I'm sure from most people's point of view.
Mm.
I mean, on one hand, we are talking about being in the new age and advanced, and second hand, we are fighting wars with each other, killing people. I mean, it just doesn't sit with me. It doesn't sit with me, and that's terrible. Having said that, it is happening and it's really affecting the industries, countries, companies, you name it. Okay. Now, the second one is the so-called, the economic or the tariff war. Okay,
Mm.
that started. Okay.
Mm.
Um, Not as bad as the first one, which is fighting
Mm.
wars. Um, to me, that is really geopolitical. It is political. Okay. It
Yes.
is political of about trying to show supremacy or trying to say that if you don't comply, then I'll put tariff on you, or thinking that putting tariff on someone will pull you down, etc. To me, this one will settle down. This will settle down because you see, real countries, real economies, and real talent in those countries, they can never be, watered down or suppressed by these means and methods. No, it'll settle down. However, it has created a lot of distrust. It has created a lot of issues, and the input cost has gone up. The
Mm.
profitability of the companies has come down. Okay.
Mm.
Um, the trust, the trust factor has gone. I mean, I'll just give you an example, and this was something I was reading. So, how the trust works, I'll tell you. So, first, US said that NVIDIA cannot give the fifth generation chips to China
Yes.
because,
Mm.
they are advancing, they're going ahead. Then they realized that by not supplying those chips to China, their companies like NVIDIA within are going to go sick and stop. Okay, because
Yeah.
who will buy the chips at that rate that China was buying? And they realized that if we don't, then they will faster develop their own chips. Okay. So they opened it up. They said, okay, you can supply the chips.
mm,
Now China is saying we don't want to buy the Nvidia chips because they suspect US may have planted something in those chips which will give them, you
yeah,
know, yeah. You see, today countries are developing top of the line tech, are willing to give it, but countries are not willing to take it because there's lack of trust. There's a trust deficit.
mm,
Now, this to me is more dangerous than the tariff war or the real war that is happening. Because if countries lose trust with each other and they think that everything being supplied to us or anything that we may supply will be seen with the lens of spying or trying to destroy something, because you saw that, right? There was a pager which was supplied
mm.
from one country and all those pagers had a bomb,
Yeah.
and that supplying country just detonated them and whoever had the bombs went off. So that's the, I wouldn't call it the real issue on the geopolitical side right now, but that is something which needs to be taken seriously. It's the lack of trust deficit right now. Okay.
Mm,
Because the war will also stop. I'm sure it will stop. Everyone knows there's nothing to be gained from a war, right?
mm,
Um, all this Islamic, anti-Islamic, things, they will also stop and go because everyone knows there's no truth in it. Okay.
mm,
Um, and these are not topics to be wasting your time on, on religion and stuff like that. Like today, everything goes for a toss because oil is $87 a barrel, right?
mm,
Now, you see, instead of looking at what has happened at the stock market every day, the first search on my this thing is what is the oil rate today?
mm,
Because the moment I see oil is at 87, I know the markets will be down.
mm,
So, then people start looking at very different metrics. Okay.
mm,
Energy security has become an issue
mm,
for countries. Not every country has the source of, the hydrocarbons, that it needs as a source of energy. Alternative energy needs to be developed, but again, developed at what pace, at what cost. So we are living in a bit of uncertainty. Okay, I would say a lot less than what it was when we were in the pandemic. Okay, because
agreed.
that was the
Mm,
biggest jolt.
mm,
However, the role for any organization, any leader in that is not to criticize or get scared of uncertainty,
mm,
but to start planning to thrive in it despite
mm,
it. Okay. And that's where innovation and creativity will come in.
mm. Now, this is the second thing that we spoke about, and again, here HR will have to play a role, like you were talking about, building capability to deal with ambiguity, deal with this uncertainty. Because, Yash, it is creating a lot of pressure top down from CEOs. CEOs are answerable to the board, they're answerable to the shareholders. From there to the person on ground who might be an ASM or a sales executive.
So very well said, Sonika, and that is the reality and the truth. Okay. You know, ability to deal with ambiguity,
Uh,
okay, is a skill, is a trait, is a capability, and is something that needs to be built
mm,
amongst people because that makes people more resilient. Okay. There are all types of people, and we are all students of human behavior, and we have tremendous respect for that, right? So if you find a person, and there's so many people that I meet with quite early on in life, who say that no, they like to have everything structured, everything organized. They want all their ducks in the row all the time. Well, let me tell you, those kind of people suffer will suffer in the environments that have become the new norm today.
right.
Because your ability to deal with ambiguity has become a new capability and a new skill.
Mm.
So what does that mean? That means that you need to find or develop an attitude in yourself, or find a person with an attitude who's okay with not having all the ducks in a row, but is confident that will more or less get them in a row,
Mm.
rather than find a person who's totally disturbed. That how can you work with a senior leader who manages so many people, who himself or herself gets upset about certain things? Okay.
Mm.
So I always say that, and I think you and me were the ones, once we had that conversation where when you started marching sheep, and I said that not just uh, diversity and the power of all that you're doing, Sonika. And then during COVID, you did that, and you did that so well. It's about well-being, right? About
Amen.
the well-being of people, but most importantly, well-being of people at the top.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you have a leader at the top who's not well, or is not sorted, or is not at peace, the impact that person can have. It's like a parent,
Mm.
who's disturbed and not treated or not supported. What kind of impact that parent or those parents can have on their children? It's the same in an organization. So you need leaders who are sorted. I'm not professing or saying even for a minute you need to have people who are only mentally strong at the top. No, no.
Mm.
Mental vulnerability is there, but make sure that ability to deal with ambiguity, allowing others to deal with ambiguity, helping them be resilient, you know, is something that is going to make organizations perform, is going to make people perform. And
Mm.
and we talk about, that the psychological safety that we talk about.
Yes.
What is psychological safety? It's nothing. It's a contract. It's a psychological contract that you have that, you know, if I work for this company or this person, psychologically I'll feel safe.
I fix it. Beautifully said.
You end up working for people or companies which can make you psychologically very insecure, okay, or psychologically weak. So what kind of a culture do you want to create in your organization? What kind of leaders do you want?
I was catching on to the word culture, you said, because when you build this capability top down and you create the ability to be vulnerable, to say that yes, there is uncertainty, there is ambiguity, but it is not in my control. I cannot stop the war, I cannot stop the tariff war, but I can plan what needs to be done within my organization. I can make people more capable, I can make people more safe. And somewhere, is this also now becoming a very strong part of a strategic HR leader's role, where they are able to see this cultural transformation as well? Because there was a time where we thought that our managers and our leaders had to know everything.
Yeah,
मैं यश के पास जाऊंगी, वो मेरे को आंसर दे देंगे क्या होने वाला है.
I think you said it very well. You said it very well. That is the need. And that should be the way, if you truly ask me, okay? Because if we talk about talent, if we talk about HR, and which human capital, or you, let's not forget it's the human which is at the center.
Yeah.
You talk about an organization, you talk about its customers. What are the customers of an organization? They're also humans at the center.
Humans.
So the human is at the center. A human will always remain at the center of this universe, is my belief. And it's that unshakable belief that makes me to be a better human being every day. Okay. Especially to people around me. Okay. I think if people don't have that, then there's a problem. Okay. But at the same time, they should be able to distinguish between, the nice and the must haves. Like, say, for example, I often say it, you don't have to be, you know, uh, just nice and good to it. You are allowed to be firm, but don't be
mm,
disrespectful.
mm,
Okay. And let me tell you, so since you said that culture, and that is one thing that I've really realized and learned over the past 8.5 years working for Lupin. You know, even in our last executive committee, we were talking. The culture of our company is the greatest strength. And I say it with all pride. You know, in Lupin, there's zero tolerance for anyone who's disrespectful.
mm,
But that doesn't mean that you can't be firm or tough with people during negotiating or during demanding things from them. There's a difference
mm.
as long as people understand the difference. But
Yeah.
under the name of trying to be firm, you can't be disrespectful.
Mm,
I mean, no yelling and shouting and all. But yeah, if you want to show a little bit of displeasure, if things are not, we all do that. We all do that at home, right?
yeah.
People at home do it with us. So that is what it is. You have to understand that it's all about making the organization performer at the end of the
Mhm.
day. So how can you build a mechanism in which you take any action where every person in the organization should be able to say that if we are doing this, now I'll tell you, we are doing this AI for HR, the entire transformation. Okay, we are reimagining the HR function, whatever tag label I may give it. One question that I kept asking myself for the first 3 months while we were in the design is whatever we are doing, is it going to benefit Lupin, okay, as a company, as a business, and its customers?
Mm.
If even on a single day I would have got an answer no, or maybe I would have stopped it.
Yes.
If I get answer to yes to these two, then I say go ahead. I don't do it based on, I don't look at how much budget is left, or I know I'll always have budget for that. Okay. I'm not worried about somebody questioning my authority. I know my
Mm.
authority, I know my credibility and standing in this organization. Once I allow a team or a set of people to go out for dinner or lunch, no one is going to question it. You know why? Because they know, my bosses know that I have questioned it in this manner.
Very powerful. Thank you, Yash. Both the questions are very powerful and great takeaways. Let me now talk about the third change which is happening. And I think we have dealt with it for years. When we joined, I'm a Gen X, then millennials came. Now zillennials are there. And I work with different organizations, and some say that we have 73% zillennials. Some say that we have 40% zillennials, but they're here. The oldest zillennial is 29 years old. Um, Assuming that they started work at 22, 23, they have 6, 7 years of experience by now. Some of them would be making managers. Do you see this as a significant shift in workforce dynamics and therefore the implications on how work needs to be relooked at, or the models of work need to be relooked at?
Sonika, even I think in 2010
Mm,
in Philips, we used to talk about strategies for Gen X,
mm,
okay, millennials and all. Okay, because the research had come out, I think, 10 years
yes.
before that. Though the research has been happening on this for 70 years, right? I think being aware,
Mm,
like it's like, how we segment our customer population to understand it from an income point of view,
mm,
how we segment our customer population from a geographic point of view to understand. What's the harm in segmenting your workforce,
mm,
okay, on the generational point of view, and then trying to tailor make things which suit one or the other or something that works? No harm at all. So I'm a big believer in it. Okay. Now, let me tell you, there are conflicts that keep happening all the time. Now, I'll tell you the organization that I work for today. Here, as soon as you get promoted to a general manager, the person starts looking for a room to sit into. And office. While as 20 years ago, Sonika, you and me worked in a company which did not have rooms or cabins. And I loved it so much, right? Now, there was no room, there was no cabin for everyone, anyone for that matter. I mean, I had a cabin, which all the
I
presidents had
remember,
a cabin,
yes.
but we never
Mm,
sat in it. We used to come and sit out, right? That to me is culture. And sometimes I feel people, because they have not experienced that, or they have not seen what workplace flexibility or workplace environment is all about, they're still stuck. To me, this is not a millennial mindset. They say
mm.
the it was a millennial, and millennial ke pehle ka kaun sa hai? um,
Gen X,
x
Generation X.
x and millennial mindset that they want a
Mm,
cabin or not. It is nothing to do with that, so I don't confuse. And to me it is an organizational culture, because in this culture, lists, you get a cabin to sit in, no one will recognize you as a GM, is the perception, right?
mm,
Now, for someone like me who never lived in that perception or never came up in that perception in the upbringing in whatever great companies that we worked in, some of them together, it's hard for me to understand, but I don't ignore it.
mm,
I can't, because no one has come from the same reference and the past experience, right? So it's very important to understand how and why people behave and expect the same way. At a
mm,
personal level, I may get disappointed where they want to sit. And so, for me, somebody who comes and tells me that I've got promoted, I want to sit here, or this person has been promoted, it pisses me off to a level that, but I'm very civil and, I stay calm, but I make no value judgment on that person. I say, it's okay what to do. That is important for that person. I would have rather liked that person to come and sit with me and have a conversation. I have gone into a higher grade. What more can I do? What my job content has changed. I think that is where we are going to go. So I
mm,
feel the generations also adapt a lot to the changing environments. It's like, I have always believed, and, I always keep comparing this with a Hindu mythological stages of life. Huh? So these generations are new and the research is there. There was a time when you and me were Gen Z,
yeah,
right? Sonika,
equivalent. Yes.
and our parents were baby boomers or whatever, right? You think the world stopped for us at that point of time?
No.
You think the world is going to stop for the Gen Zs and what they think about the world at this point of time? Answer is no. To me, the four mythological, the phases that are there, okay, of life is that of a childhood,
And
okay, is
working
that,
days.
yeah, matlab your, grahasth ashram and your vanaprastha, what you used to call it
Yes.
as retirement,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is those life cycle stages that are important for people. Huh? Let me tell you, because the first stage of your life cycle, you're dependent on someone who's earning you and feeding you. As soon as you come into that phase yourself, when you become responsible for earning and feeding yourself, a lot more seriousness and maturity comes in. When you go into a phase where you're not only earning and feeding yourself, but even others that have come to life, till you go to the fourth stage, where you're still earning and feeding yourself and all the others, and still worrying about what that youngest generation is thinking about you. This was such a beautiful explanation of how to deal with generations by talking about life cycle stage in the Hindu mythology. And that is
Mm,
not talked about today, right? And we talk all about this Western research on Gen Z and all that. To me, it's fine. There's nothing. I have no issue with a baby boomer or a Gen Z, and neither should anyone have. They are all going to go through a life cycle stage, which is going to be a beautiful experience. Beautiful experience. Too much of criticism, and I feel bad for the Gen. The Gen Zs are like this, and they. I think it's unfair. It's unfair criticism. Maybe they've become a little bit more bold, a little bit more. rebellious than what we were. I was very bold. I was quite rebellious, but compared to that, they could be severely more. But casting a value judgment on that, saying this is not right, who are we to do that? And they are going to have to live through these life cycle stages.
Yes.
Now, some go to the extent of saying that let us see how they will earn. They want to earn without working. It's wrong. No, it's not like that. Let them go through the life cycle stages. Huh?
Mm.
That's it. And in an organization, I have looked at people more from their life cycle stage as compared to their age.
Thank you for saying that.
You know, and
Mm.
you have seen that. My son was 2 years old, right? And if I had also gotten to know that he was not well, and if I would see you in office, the first question I would ask you is, do you have to be in office, Sonika? And without making you feel offended. But it was nothing. It was just out of a concern, which I'm sure you would have shown for your
Yes.
son. But if I can show that concern to you, it just attaches you more to that organization, right? So that's no need to do that or being that concerned for, you when you didn't have a family or to a stage when you reach when your family is on its own. Probably then the concern shift more towards how are you doing, Sonika?
Doing.
Are you or because of your life cycle stage, because
Yeah.
now not only you're providing for yourself, you're providing for two others, so the pressures are different, right? So once you understand that now, you're sorted here.
Yeah.
As a leader, you cannot go wrong with your people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying this because I think the labels do more harm than the real behavior.
There are
So,
there are
yeah.
some 50, 60-year-old people who behave like Gen Zs, and there are Gen Zs I have seen who behave more like millennials or Gen Xers. So let's not cast value judgment, and typecast them or put them in a box because they were born in this age. Is the point that I'm making.
Yes. Brilliant. I'm mindful of the time. I will just check if there are any questions in the Q&A section. Okay, so we have a question. With AI coming, do you think workplace inclusivity is missing? Do you think this is a problem to be resolved in parallel while an organization drives for change through AI?
I don't think so. You see, in the hybrid itself, the workplace inclusivity goes. If you're not in a workplace itself, then workplace inclusivity can go missing. But that's a mindset. What is workplace inclusivity? Inclusive means include you in what? You should include people in what? Okay. Not include them when there is bonhomie and some coffee conversation going on, right? No, that is just one part of. As long as people feel included in any major change you're making in an organization, as long as people feel included in any major transformation you're designing, planning, okay, like the AI transformation that is happening right now at Lupin, you'll not believe, Sonika, and you can ask my team. We spent 2 days with the entire HR team, 1.5 days at Lonavala,
Mm,
where me and the people who are working on this AI transform, we took them through the details of that, including enhancing giving them a chance to co-design, co-contribute, and co-lead it with us. That is inclusivity.
yeah.
That is inclusivity.
Mm,
Inclusivity is not that, you know, going together for lunch. That is bonhomie. That's for camaraderie sake. That's for fun sake. Don't confuse that with inclusivity. Include people in important decisions that you're making or the important decisions you make, bounce it off them. That is inclusivity.
mm,
So whether it is AI or non-AI, inclusivity is inclusivity. Either your organization has a culture of inclusivity, either your leader is inclusive or not inclusive. Period.
yeah.
AI से उसका बहुत ज्यादा लेना देना नहीं है.
Mm,
AI, the question that comes is, will there be a personal touch and, you know, will will the personal touch be lost? And the answer is, if a customer doesn't care for a personal touch, but more for the product, goods, and services, then who are we to put a value judgment on that?
Mm.
Yes, if you're able to innovate and discover products better by making everyone sit in one lab versus everyone working from home versus some working from home from, it's a choice that you have to make as an
Yes.
organization.
Yeah.
That is not inclusivity. So we have
Mm.
made a choice. We are everyone back at work because we
Mm.
believe there's much better productivity and collaboration and ability to design better product solutions for our customers if we are all together.
Understood. Yeah. One more question. How will an HR business partner be able to identify top performers in an organization, as there is no demarcation of results which are delivered using tools or technology?
Tools and technology help you to assess who has performed and not performed.
Mm.
Okay. You remember the era of the pencil and paper performance appraisals,
Mm.
where
Yes.
a person would write down his goals and do the same, which happens, say, on a system. But today on the system, the ability to do it much better by sharing it with two more people, which are like your direct manager. You can send it to the second manager, get it back. Even the back and forth that happens between an employee and the manager.
Mm.
Okay. Then the calibration. This is nothing but this is a process, tools, and techniques to identify
Mm.
performance. So,
Mm.
opposite of it is not true.
Mm. I think maybe her question was that because people use tools to deliver, I maybe that could have been the question.
Uh,
Not sure.
yeah,
Uh,
it's like this, that before the chainsaw was invented, people had to cut a tree with an axe, and those who cut tree
mm,
with axes are more hardworking. लॉजिक नहीं है ना.
Anji. It's also about who's able to utilize the tools for better outcomes. I think the outcomes will speak for themselves.
Outcomes will speak for themselves, and the whole thing goes in, which I talk to my team this time also, is how you set performance goals and objectives. How
Mm.
sharply you set them is what will also decide on defining what performance is. One.
Right.
Secondly, performance being counted in terms of an output, like you said, is where the
Yeah.
distinction is made.
Right. So thank you, Yash. That brings us to the end, and we've taken 10 minutes more of your time, but thank you so much. I was observing we had more than 120 people till the end. Um, I think everybody got immense value. You've simplified so many things that we make in our heads, no? कि AI transformation hai, ye hai, wo hai. But the simplicity with which you said, ye do question pucho. Ask yourself these two questions. Ask yourself this, organization and the customers are benefiting or not, and then people benefiting or not. I think there are such beautiful nuggets which were shared today by you. Thank you so much on behalf of everybody here, and thank you for accepting our invitation to come today.